Hello, how are you? All right, this week we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have a little story time. And this story time, I'm going to share it because hopefully it'll be helpful for somebody. It'll be, entertaining and useful information. So last year, in about January, February, I wanted an MMA fight. So I kept training for the MMA fight, having a fight camp, but either they would drop out or some things would just always happen where the MMA fight wouldn't happen. And so one day I was going to my weightlifting gym, and the owner of the weightlifting gym also owned a boxing promotion. And he's like, Crystal, we pay our fighters, that way they show up. So his boxing promotion was pro boxers only. And I thought, listen, I had some MMA fights under my belt. Like striking was something that I was least skilled in. So if I can focus on it, then it's like, what an amazing opportunity. And I remember he had the belt and he showed me the belt, and the belt was just like, oh my God, it was so beautiful. So I started training for my pro boxing debut. And to train for my pro boxing debut, I was sparring 3 to 4 times a week. And this started in like the early spring. And they were, I don't know if you've ever done boxing rounds, but they were hard hitting sparring rounds. I haven't released any footage of those rounds yet, but I filmed, pretty much 80% of it. I think I released probably like 1% of it. But so I was sparring hard hitting rounds, and there was once or twice where my eye got scratched, but it was nothing besides getting a little scratch from a glove on my eye. There was no pain. There was nothing to tell me that anything, would be physically wrong. They were fun rounds. Oh my God. Oh. I love them. So the original fight camp for my pro boxing debut was only supposed to be, for a few months. And however, the fight kept on getting pushed out. So it got pushed out to late summer, and we had the fight was on. I had my family all bought front row tickets. It was at this big arena. It was a legit fight. And so the day before we were supposed to fight, I get a call that my opponent, she just left a cryptic message saying that she was injured. And we didn't know whether or not she was going to show up. So I go to weigh-ins. And it was the day of the fight that I get the phone call, confirming that she wasn't gonna show up. So all of that, that was kind of that was disappointing. So after that, I was like, screw it, I need to get an MMA fight. So the fastest MMA fight available was in New Hampshire, and for New Hampshire MMA, it is a requirement to get your eyes examined. Well, following up to that eye examination, usually they test for if you have a detached retina and any other thing that could impair your vision. So I remember I didn't want to get that test done because what started off as I thought I had a smudge on my lens one day. I'm looking through my glasses, my blue light blocking glasses, and I was like, oh, that must be a greasy spot. So I clean them off and I put them on again, and the spot was actually in the lens of my eye, my left eye. And it progressively got worse to the point where I had 50% vision in my left eye, and I knew I couldn't pass that eye exam. So what I did was I memorized the eye chart. That way I could pass the eye test to get that MMA fight. So I got that MMA fight. I have it posted. That was that MMA fight. And then didn't think anything of it. Fast forward to maybe like 4 months ago, the vision in my left eye completely, if you have cataracts is a clouding of your lens. So imagine fogging up your glasses and putting them on. That's what it looks like. Your vision gradually deteriorates and you can't do anything besides surgery to clear it up. The solution isn't glasses. So I figured I would go back to the doctor and get an honest opinion on my eye, because the last time, we just fake it till you make it. This time I was going to be honest. All right, I need some water. So I go to this eye examination, and he sits me down, and he pulls up the letters, and on the smallest line, I can't even see that there are letters. And so he, keeps on going up the eye exam chart until there's just one letter on the screen. And I cover my eye, and I'm like, is that a QR code? And no, it was just one giant E letter. So I was completely blind in my left eye, and he checks both my eyes, and he's like, Crystal, you have cataracts in both of your eyes, but your left eye has a faster deterioration than your right eye. And he's like, Crystal, after we do cataract surgery, you will not be able to fight again. If you get a blow to your eyes, like a blow in a fight, you have the risk of going completely blind, and there's no do-overs. If you get hit after cataract surgery with these lenses hard enough, you will go blind, and it will be a permanent blindness. There's no surgery to correct that. So obviously I asked him questions like, what type of force are we talking about here? Do we have a Newton measurement? What is the, do we have anything concrete besides, getting hit hard? So basically what that told me was, after cataract surgery, I will never be able to take a fight again, which upon hearing that, my first thought was like, all right, I need to have one last MMA fight, and it will be my goodbye fight, because at that time we have a really good striking coach, like Andy Cody came, and I dreamed of doing like cage titans, and I was like, all right, so this started 2 months ago, so it's the middle of December now, so about 2 months ago, I'm like, okay, this is going to be my last MMA fight. So I get the cardio programmed. I'm doing like zone 5 runs. And, I'm prepared to take this last fight and then get the cataract surgery. I scheduled the cataract surgery right after the fight. The Cage Titans was going to happen in January. My cataract surgery for my left eye would be on early February. However, last weekend, I woke up and I go outside to start my car to go to jiu-jitsu, and I cover my left eye because I can't see anything out of my left eye because of cataracts, so I cover it, and my good eye, I couldn't even see. It looked like somebody had wiped my license plate clean. So that told me that the vision in my right eye now has deteriorated to about 50%. And it's only the middle of December. And the reason why the cataracts developed in the first place was because of micro trauma due to hard sparring. So for the rate of deterioration of vision in my right eye to be that fast, like by my calculations, if I would have an MMA fight and a hard-hitting, not even a semi-hard hitting fight camp, like I would definitely be blind by the time the MMA fight happened. And even at this rate, without a fight camp with hard sparring, like I'm lucky if I'm not completely blind by February, which means in a practical sense, like on a day-to-day, it takes longer to do things, especially to work, to create videos, to do my day job. It's difficult driving at night because there's a light sensitivity. So it's like I have complete empathy now for, like, you know, you see like an older person trying to drive and they're going like 10 miles an hour. It's like they're probably being blinded by oncoming traffic if they have a cataract. So yeah, so basically I had to accept the reality and the heartbreak that I will never take an MMA fight ever again. And that, to process that, like, I ugly cried more over that heartache than any man. Because it's like, for me, taking MMA fights, like, that cage was a place for me to, it was like a spiritual experience. It was like, it was a grounds for me to elevate to a higher version of myself and to face my fears and to become a better person. Like, that was like what I love to do in that cage. And now it's like I have to get that surgery, and after the surgery I could go completely blind. So it's like, you know, it's something that I will never be able to do again. I've experienced enough loss and death in my life to know when to surrender. Basically, it's like life gives you things, and sometimes you fight and sometimes you accept when you know that fighting, you know, isn't serving you, or in this case isn't serving me. I knew that if I would have had that, it would have been like negligent, irresponsible of me to go through a fight camp, and to definitely, I would have been blind. I mean, I can't see anything out of my peripheral here, and I was willing to take a fight with that, but to be completely blind, it's like I need to be able to drive. I need, you know. So yeah, that is where we are at with that. Yeah, if I were to go back, I definitely, it's almost like I tried to, I used hard sparring as a way to gain skill, and it definitely did gain skill in a very short amount of time. But the amount of hits that I was taking during hard sparring in boxing, my eyes couldn't handle. And I didn't use headgear, but I guess it doesn't matter because it's like the shaking of the eye. And I mean, if you ever take an MMA fight, like in New Hampshire, it's like, oh, what? Obviously they have a bunch of eye tests because the eye health, the health of a fighter's eye can be compromised. So if I were to do it all over again, I would be smarter about the impact of my sparring rounds. But then again, it's almost like it's hard to, it's like to modulate the intensity. It was all intense. It's good to have that intensity so you know what it feels like, but having that be your training can, you know, put things at risk. And I mean, at least it was I mean, the eyeballs are technically part of your brain, but it could be, it could always be worse. Yeah. So now it's just a process of letting go. It's definitely interesting. Last Thursday of this week was the first time I did the MMA class after knowing that I wasn't going to take that. I wasn't going to be able to fight. And it's almost like you have this relationship with this sport, and before it could be something, and now it's like you're seeing it, and your relationship has changed because you can never take another fight, but yet you're still doing it. So it's almost like you're in this painful spot of having to let go of something that you really love while still doing it. Yeah, I guess I'm just, and the fight process was always, you know, very intense the days leading up to the fight. And, you know, you're battling. For me, it was like that's when the voices of self-doubt would try to creep in when I was like tired and, you know, cutting water and the day before the weigh-ins, it was like that was, you know, that was the test. And now looking back, it's almost like I just have such great appreciation for it. And it's almost like when we go through life, when we look back, I would tell myself to just enjoy as much as you can, like, and try to find ways to enjoy it more. And so I want to tell myself that to myself now. It's like I can still train jiu-jitsu, and I can, you know, I'm not going to do any hard sparring, but I can still train the skill of it. And I need to remind myself, even in daily life, just to enjoy more. Because I know on my deathbed, I'm gonna, it's like the mini deaths of life that happen. You know, the Mandelbrot set of deaths. This is just one little mini death in my life. And I just want to make sure that I'm taking time to appreciate and love more, because life is fleeting and death is real. All right, so I love you. You're getting better every day. And until next time, bye.